What's up guys? Nick at Last Mile NYC. We're gonna do another repair video for you. Today we're gonna be doing a flat fix / tire change on a Super73 R-Adventure. So for this repair, what we're gonna need is a 5mm Allen key. You can do an Allen key like this, or you can do a ratchet wrench with an attachment for a 5mm. I like to do this option. It gives me a little more leverage on this one. What else is tire levers? You can use plastic tire levers. You can use your body weight to unbead the tire. This is probably gonna be your best option though. You can do 10mm open end wrench. This is gonna be for getting a nut off of the stem itself on the tire. You need some snips to get the motor wire undone. In this case, we need a tube to change out the tube. If you're changing out your tire, you need a tire as well. Some gloves. And then a huge thing is to get the air back in, a compressor, or you can make it out with a floor pump right here. I'll show you both options. Super easy to do. Step number one is going to be disconnecting this motor. The motor wire runs through inside here. You can see these zip ties that are attached to the frame. We're gonna take our snips and we're gonna get these things off. Gonna snip, there's 1, 2, and then there's a third one right here that we're gonna take off so you can see the motor wire itself. This is called a Juliet cable. The Juliet cable, it literally just spins into itself. So we're gonna hold it on both sides and spin them away from each other. And when you spin it all the way out, you get all the way to the end and you just pull it out straight. It's super straightforward. It has arrows to make sure that you don't put it in wrong or anything like that. Once this is disconnected, you can just leave it right here for now. Once that motor wire is disconnected, we're gonna need to get this brake caliper out of the way. So we're gonna take our 5mm Allen key and get these bolts loosened up right here. The biggest thing for these guys are gonna be make sure that your tool is all the way in there. You don't wanna strip these bolts out. You don't wanna ovalize them because then that's gonna be a pain in the neck to get out. When this brake caliper is off, be very careful to not grab your brake lever. If you grab your brake lever, it pushes out your brake pads and you can have an issue with your pistons popping out and stuff like that. If the bike is fairly new and you still have the box with the charger and everything, there's these little black pieces, I don't know if you can see them, these little black pieces that look like little wedges. And basically what this is for is you slide this up here. If you ever have to take your wheel off or anything like that, you just slide these things up there and it stops your brake pads from coming out too much. So if you ever see those and you're like, what are these for? That's exactly what they're for. Okay, so now we're on the right side of the bike. What we need to do on this side is take this derailleur off and we need to get the chain off of the chainring. The easiest way to do this, 5mm right here, it goes right into this dropout bolt. And same thing, just make sure this bolt is all the way, this tool's all the way in the bolt because you don't want to mess this bolt up. And to get this chain off, easiest thing to do is pedal it backwards and push the chain off, and then it just kind of does its own thing and falls right off. All right, so once this derailleur is hanging down, I kind of just leave it on the frame right here. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take these 2 dropout bolts right here. These just go right into this black bracket right here. So we're gonna take 2 off on each side. You can use your 5mm. For these, just be very careful with this. If this tool is not fully in there and you're cranking away on it, you could ovalize this and it's a pain to get out. So just be careful with that when you're doing it. So once you get the right side bolts out, you're gonna do the exact same thing here with these 2 bolts. Same thing on these. Make sure the tool is all the way in there. I can't stress that enough because we've seen a bunch of bolts that get messed up. So please be careful with these. All right, so now we have all the bolts off on those brackets. Now what you're gonna do is literally just pull the wheel back and the brackets are gonna slide out of the frame. I like to put some brace on this stand so when I'm pulling it back, it doesn't move around and it's literally just sliding it straight back and the wheel falls out. All right guys, now that we have this tire off of the frame, we're gonna be doing nothing but tire work now. What we're gonna be doing is there's a little nut on this stem that you're gonna have to get off. with that open in 10 mil. Once we get that off, then we're gonna unbead the tire, take the tube out, swap the tube. It's super, super straightforward. It's kind of annoying to get this nut off, but we'll get this off now. All right, now that we have that nut off of the stem, we're gonna unbead this tire to get the tube out. The good thing about Super 73 is this tire is super soft, so you can get it out with your hand, or you can use one of those plastic levers that we pointed out earlier. So for the sake of this, I'm gonna use the lever itself. You're gonna scoop this tire out and you're just gonna drag this lever all along the tire and pop it out. Once you get this one side out, I use my finger right here to push up the valve stem. Once you push that up, you just reach in and pull it out right here. This part is super, super easy. You just pull the tire out and it comes right out. Super 73 makes it super easy with these kind of tires. So now we have the old tire and the old tube off. We'll just pull this tube out, get rid of this. The most common thing we see in the shop is flat tires, brake pads and stuff like that. So if somebody comes in with a flat tire, if you run over something and you have a flat tire, best thing to do is obviously look inside. I like to slowly run my hand along here just to be careful. If there's anything sticking out, you'll feel it. If you have like a nail or a needle or a piece of glass or anything like that, you'll be able to see it and feel it in here. It's super important to check the inside of the tire, because if you fix the flat and you still have something in there that you didn't check for, air everything up, you're gonna get another flat. So it's gonna be super annoying. So just anytime you're changing this out, just check in here to make sure there's nothing popping out. We have our new tube here. Same size, same everything. What we need to do is get some air into this to hold its shape. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna use this floor pump. So now we have our tube inflated, just enough to keep the shape of it. We're gonna put this inside of the tire. The tire on their Grizzlies have a direction arrow on them. Let's see if I can find it. So direction arrow right here, it's probably super hard to see, but if you have Grizzlies, you can see them. The direction is going that way, which means that that's gonna be towards the front of the bike that way. The stem sticks out on the right side. So you're gonna have it sitting in like that with the stem coming out of the right side. Now the tricky part is getting your wheel back on to your tire. The easiest way I like to do it is I'll hold the stem right here between my fingers and I'll get the bottom of the rim into the tire, like so. And then you kind of just push down on the rim and it goes right into the tire. And then with this right hand, you kind of just feed the stem through the hole of the rim. So I don't know if y'all can see that, but it's like coming out right here. Then what you're gonna need to do after that is you're gonna need to reseed this whole thing right here, okay? So you're gonna get this seated in here. Easiest way to do it, start pushing around. I push against my body just to hold it in place, and then kind of just move around like that, and that's literally it. This is all new tire, new everything, so it's super easy to do. Sometimes when you have an older tire that's a little worn out, it's a little bit harder to do, but still super manageable. All right, so we have that nut again that goes back on the stem. It literally just threads on there, so it's super easy. You just thread it in there and then pull the stem out and thread it on the bottom part of it. You don't need to go too crazy with it. Just make sure that it's on enough that when you're airing up the tube, it doesn't like fall back into the rim. All right, so now we're gonna use this compressor to get this thing back aired up. Just pop this on here. Some things to notice. The sidewall says max like 36. We like to recommend 22. Super 73 runs them at 22. So if you're ever wondering what my PSI should be, around 22 PSI, okay? Some things to look out for as well. When you're airing this up, this bead right here, make sure this is fully seated. So when you're airing this up, we're gonna air up a little bit. We're gonna air this up and slowly watch the PSI. And we're also going to be looking on both sides to make sure that this, this bead is in here. If for whatever reason, you're slamming on this and you see that the bead on the tire is sticking out, immediately start letting some of the air out, because that will it would keep airing up, and basically your tube will explode if you have any gaps in it. So unless you want to wake up the whole neighborhood, I wouldn't recommend. And right here, all we're doing is, you can see this line that goes along. Just make sure that line is all the way out. And then we'll check on the other side too while you're doing it. This looks good. Okay, so on each side, we have these black brackets right here. These black brackets just basically have a notch that slides into the frame, okay? And then that's where those two big black bolts go on the side, okay? So you can see the side right here of this bracket that's gonna slide into the frame. Okay, so we're gonna slide this back into the frame. It's gonna be cassette side on the right side or freewheel on the side, and your motor wire and your brake rotor are gonna be on the left side, okay? Side note, if you're ever wondering, like, how am I gonna remember to do all that stuff, you can always take pictures of what everything looks like before, and then go back and look at those pictures. When you're at this point, you can say, oh, what did it look like before? But easiest way to do it is notch in one side of the frame, and then use this other side to line it up. Sometimes you need to spread the frame apart. So I'll line up the left side and then line up the right side, and then sometimes you need to pull the actual legs of the frame apart. But it just slides in right there, and then you're kind of just gonna wanna wiggle it forward and get it pushed in to where you can see the holes of the brackets themselves. All right, so we got these loosely fastened bracket bolts. You don't have to go too crazy with them yet. Just make sure they're in there so you don't have the wheel slipping out or anything like that. We have the derailleur reinstalled. It's just gonna be this same 5mm bolt right here that goes right into that black bracket. This is one of those things that you would wanna take a picture of so you can see the orientation of the chain and the derailleur itself. Once you have that on, we're gonna reattach the chain to the chain wheel up front. All right, and same way we took this off, you're gonna pedal it backwards. I kind of just hook it onto the chain ring itself and pedal backwards a little bit, and actually just pop it on that way. Once you do that, you're gonna wanna kind of pedal it forward to make sure it's all aligned and everything up front. So we're in the back of the bike again. Now what we're gonna do is fully secure these 4 bracket bolts right here. You're gonna wanna make sure that you pull the wheel all the way back so you can have the correct tension on the chain. So I usually just pull it all the way back until it can't slide back anymore, and then you're just gonna crank these down. Same thing as taking it off. Make sure the tool's fully in there, and just get it nice and snug. You don't want to over tighten anything too crazy because you have a possibility of damaging those bolts. Now, one of the final steps, reattaching this brake caliper, taking out this little wedge, and then just reattaching this like normal. All right, and your last major step is reconnecting this motor wire. It has arrows. You can see the pins on the inside as well. You're gonna push it all the way in. You're gonna let it fully seat itself. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna turn this Juliet cable to tighten it. Once you have that fully tightened, you're gonna get some zip ties, zip tie it back to the frame, and you'll be all set. All right, guys, next thing is to just fire it up, make sure everything's working the way it's supposed to. You don't have anything making weird noises or not firing it up like it's supposed to. Hit that brake a couple times just to make sure your brake feels good. And also what I would do is pedal it a couple times just to make sure that your chain sounds good, your freewheel or derailleur in the back sounds good as well. Sometimes when you do this, you will get an E005 error code. That just means that your motor wire is disconnected. So it could be that it's not connected all the way, or you could just forget to connect it. If you see E005, it just means that that's not plugged in. So plug that in and then restart everything. It should be good to go. All right, guys, that is it. That's how to change a flat tire or a tire swap on a Super 73 R. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, you can always reach out to us. We're more than happy to help. But we'll see you on the next one.